Hey everyone, I hope this is all going well. I'm Lynn. As you can tell, Matt is not here. I just talked to him a few minutes ago. He was just got back up north and apparently lost track of time trying to get everything sorted out and back into operating order. He should be joining in a few minutes when he can get cleaned up and presentable. He said he'll join, so we'll look to see him in about 15 or 20 minutes or so. For those of you joining, this is the Green Beret Life. Matt put this uh, thing together as a 501c3, providing training, firearms training, and that sort of thing to first responders, veterans, and their families. You can find out, you can email us for any information at greenberetlife@gmail.com. Matt and I check it on a regular basis, so you can reach out to us with any questions you may have, military, law enforcement, anything like that. Matt and I were both military. Matt's been prior law enforcement, and that sort of thing. Reach out, see what's going on, visit with us, and we'll be happy to reply. Sorry for the oddities. I'm not used to going on my own, so I'm having to fill in and do a little bit of everything here. As you guys know, we normally spend the first few minutes on YouTube, and then we move over to Rumble and Odysee, where we can speak a little more freely. But one of the things we do when we do talk about when we're here on YouTube are the stories that we're going to cover. And we've got really two today that I've seen some coverage on that really kind of bother me the way things are laid out. One of them is the increasing violence from the left due to the fact that Trump is enforcing immigration law. For those of you that don't know, there were two separate attacks on ICE facility and law enforcement. One of them resulted in the shooter being uh, dealt with, and the other resulted in 10 arrests of Antifa type folks. Um, in both instances, law enforcement was injured. I believe in one of the officers was shot in the neck, and in another, I think one took a shot to the knee. So the violence on the left is ramping up in response to enforcing the laws of the nation. I'm not sure, what else to do with that. We enforce the laws and they shoot people. So yeah, we're going to talk about those two stories. We've got another story here. This is the other big one that I've really been looking into is the Jeffrey Epstein thing. If you haven't seen it, the DOJ has released a video, like a 10 or 12-hour long video showing the camera outside of the room where Epstein was being housed. And they've also released a statement. And I'll be honest with you, in looking over both of them, there have been more questions raised than there have been answered. And I'm not sure what the goal was in releasing these statements, and I'm not sure what the plan was for what I'm not sure what the goal was. If they were trying to, you know, placate some of the people that were saying, "Hey, this doesn't add up. This still is a little fishy." This did not do it. This has raised many more questions for me than it's answered. We'll take a look at the statement and the video, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. See if you feel the same way about it. A couple of the other stories we have are kind of some feel good stories. The judge that was charged with helping the illegal avoid the ICE custody, I believe she was in Milwaukee. We'll talk about that, and we'll also talk about some of what Matt and I have been talking about with Trump signing a bunch of executive orders, but really nothing. nothing's going to be lasting unless this stuff is codified into law. And apparently, there were 28 executive orders that had been signed by Trump that were in his big beautiful bill. We'll look at some of these. There are a handful that it makes a difference, and there's other ones that are like, okay, that was put in there. So the way they're phrasing it, the way they present it, it's like I'm not understanding what the big deal is on it, but could be something I'm missing. But I guess for YouTube, probably the maybe one of the best ones to look at first would be this one with the judge. Because this is always, warm place in my heart when people who think they are better than everyone else are smacked down and proven wrong. This story from Newsmax, the charges move forward against this Milwaukee judge who helped the illegal avoid ICE. And for those of you that don't know or don't remember, this was the judge that was having a hearing in her courtroom with the victims of this illegal in the courtroom, with the prosecutor in the courtroom ready to prosecute the case, finds out that ICE is there with a detainer for this guy, and basically cancels the hearing, cancels the proceedings, and proceeds to smuggle this guy and his lawyer out through judges' chambers to avoid ICE. And she's being charged right now. She's being charged with obstruction and intentionally concealing an individual set for deportation. Both of these are felonies, which is outstanding. Now, while she's claimed the government's description of what happened that day was wrong, I'm not sure how you're going to say it's wrong whenever there's, security cameras and I'm sure all sorts of other things. They're in the courthouse showing you doing what you're doing. Judge Dugan's request for the charges to be dismissed amounted to her having immunity from charges simply because she is a judge. And it says the magistrate who was hearing this agreed with the government's position that there is no firmly established absolute judicial immunity barring criminal prosecution of judges for judicial acts. The only exception I'll take with this is from the moment she adjourned that hearing, she was no longer acting in the capacity of a judge. She's not seated in her courtroom. She's not hearing a case. She's not deciding matters of law or, making judgments as judges would do. She just simply decides she's going to smuggle out an illegal immigrant and help him avoid law enforcement. This has nothing to do with her being a judge. She, at that point, is no better than anyone else. Just because she wears a fancy black dress to work doesn't mean she's untouchable. But this basically is nothing's final here. This is still working its way through the system. And this magistrate's decision, it says here, basically amounts to a procedural legal recommendation to the district court who is handling the case. So nothing's set yet. There's going to be, God, probably another year or more of this going through and seeing what happens before there's ever anything that comes to fruition on this and we find out what the end result's going to be. And I'm sure if it is the end result, being guilty of something, there'll be appeals and everything else for the next 30 years before anything substantial happens in any way, shape, or form. But that's always a good, warm, fuzzy feeling that this is moving forward. It does seem as though the rule of law affects the left and not just the right. But things like that, they do get it does get disconcerting. It does get to be painful whenever you see the left continuously rioting, burning, looting, and there's never anything that comes of it. Um, and yeah, freedom. I agree. Our judicial system is corrupt, and there's a lot of house cleaning to do. It's gotten to the point that a lot of these activist judges with their nationwide injunctions. So you have a district judge whose sole realm of influence is their district or their area of responsibility, just broadcasting these sweeping, nationwide injunctions saying, I'm stopping the duly elected president from enacting the policies he was elected to implement because I don't like them and they hurt my feelings. And Supreme Court smacking that down. Hopefully that'll slow some of this and things will get moving again because the reality of it is Trump has 3 years to go, two and a half. Oh, well, we've got the midterms coming up here in what, a year, 14, 15 months. And it's a razor thin margin in the House and the Senate. And it, it constantly amazes me how even when the Republicans have power, they can't do anything. The hell, the Democrats do get more accomplished when they're out of power than the Republicans do when they're in power. And it's because the Republicans refuse to do what we elected them to do. And it's so frustrating. Like Matt says, some of these guys need to be primaried. We need to find really good replacements for them that can win in the districts and put them up. Um, you're fighting against the name of the incumbent. You're fighting against the party that wants to keep that incumbent in there. But if they're fighting against the president and they're not doing the job we put them there to do, and it really gets it really gets frustrating when that happens. Let's see. I think probably for these next stories, we're going to need to be over on Rumble because YouTube will take exception to the things we're going to be discussing. If you do happen to find us on YouTube, down in the description, there will be a link to the Rumble channel. Click on that and follow us over, and we will have the remaining 45 minutes or so of the show. And if you follow us over to Rumble, you will get to see Matt because he'll be on about that time. So I'm gonna drop drop the YouTube. Let's see. Hold on a second. Sorry, like I said, guys, I'm doing this on my own here, so give me a moment.